got St. Joe's in the second part of the season coming up. Start of conference play.
Yeah.
Strong team, 10-3 start this year.
Opening conference play, exciting time around college basketball. I think non-conference is one of those unique grinds. You learn a lot about your team, etc. But the quest to become the best you can be really starts right now. And, the month of January is one of which can really propel you to things that you never saw as a player and a coach. The month of January could be one of those things that obviously, takes you from real high to a low because you can get humbled very quickly. So it's important as you start conference play to take it one at a time, have good work, really stay committed to your players and keeping them fresh, working with them, continue to work individually to make them better. But you see teams all over the country, conference play starts, maybe they didn't have the greatest non-conference, or maybe they did. And maybe things start on a real high note in January, or maybe they don't. Like, there's going to be a lot of different things that come at you. So I think balance, one game at a time, that type of mentality is important. And, being able to get a win to close out non-conference was important as we get ready to get realigned here. St. Joe's is one of the most dangerous teams in college basketball. They could beat anybody in America on any night. And I think that Billy has done a fantastic job. When you return 12 players, over 2,500 points and over 300 made threes returned for you, you're doing something right with your culture, your development, and in particular, finding a way to retain your best players. And they have a chance to have a fantastic year. They already have. But I think they have a chance to have a fantastic year in terms of being one of those teams that could really, really do some damage come March. They have superstar in Eric Reynolds, and rightfully so. He's one of the most prolific scoring guards in the country. But I think the thing that's unique about these guys this year is their overall depth, size, and talent and experience has really propelled them to being really good on both ends. They've got great guard play, freshman in Brown, point guard play in Greer, bona fide scorer. Their front court players, Fleming in particular, much improved player, gives them a space five. But they can play a lot of different guys in this game, and the way that they attack you offensively, really, really dangerous team. I think the difference in them this year, why they can maybe do a little bit more, maybe it's because they're a year older. Defensively, they've been terrific as well. They've got great length. They play extremely hard. They can bounce out of zone or back to man. They do some unique things there. And I've watched them play at Kentucky, at Villanova, Princeton at home. All three of those teams, potentially all of them, can win a game in March in the tournament. And, I would say that St. Joe's was the better team in all three games, with the exception of not coming out on the winning end at Rupp. So impressed. Started right away here with these guys on Wednesday night. And like I said, got unbelievable respect for Billy, his staff, and his team. Been very impressed. And for us, it's going to take a monumental challenge in here on Wednesday night to play our best game of the season.
Questions?
How nice was
Would
it?
you know a lot more about your team 28 hours from now or whatever?
I think so. I think so. I think, when conference play starts, the level of intensity goes way up. You're not, so to speak, playing in that rhythm of non-conference where sometimes you're playing against teams that you're not as familiar with. You're familiar in conference play, and everybody knows you. You know them. It's the 0-0 feel still here at the beginning of January. Everybody's ready to go, wants to get off to a good start. But in particular, I think conference play really brings out a higher level of intensity, concentration. They know you, you know them. The team that doesn't beat themselves a lot of times is going to be the team that wins. And I think in conference play, everything is nip and tuck. It's going to come down to a 4-minute game, the last 4 minutes almost 80% of the time. And I think we will learn a lot about our maturity level, our growth, our depth, our connectedness. I think that we have a lot of different guys right now mentally more focused than we had in the last couple weeks. I think we're healthier than we've been in the last couple weeks, so I'm hopeful we can keep that going here as we get ready to get started with conference.
How nice is it to watch film after a win? It's been a while.
Yeah, I think, sometimes watching film after a win, especially with your team, is a bright spot. You want to bring out the positive. You want to show them why you won. And a lot of it is effort-related, unselfish plays, good execution, some things that you haven't done. You're still going to have those clips and that edit that you have to show your team. There's got to be some things you have to improve on. And even coming out of Saturday, just taking care of the ball. If it doesn't get cleaned up here in a big way here in January, we're not going to be able to win in conference. So I think that's something to come out. But, even when you're going through a hard time and you're searching for answers as a coaching staff, you really can't get away from, like, the identity stuff. You can't get, overcomplicated with your players. There are some things that we did good in the last few weeks that we didn't win a game. There's some things that obviously we didn't do. But you're always constantly trying to reinforce why you're going to be able to be successful, and I think we were able to do that after Saturday. There was a lot of plays, a lot of individual hustle plays, unselfish plays. It's the first time we watched film in over a month with, an arsenal of front court players. Like, we were just a little bit different in that area. So, the health of your team sometimes, makes a big difference. But, we'll see. January is going to be for the survivors here with us. I don't think we can get away with playing 10 guys, 9 guys. We have to cut that rotation down and get that thing to, like, 7, 8, and have those guys fight and claw for, their opportunities. And I think that's what we've seen here the last few days. We've had some guys really step up and play that I feel good about, that if they have their opportunity tomorrow, they'll be ready to go. So just trying to bring out the best in our guys, and at the end of the day, find ways for us to be better in January than we've been and get better towards February.
Along those lines, when you're watching film with your team, as a coach, the balance of how do you handle the balance of telling them what they did well, but also understanding what they need to get better at?
I think you have some non-negotiables that you and your players all know that you want to live by, whether that's rebounding, running back, quitting on plays, showing the good examples and the bad. There's always going to be those identity plays that you want to bring to the table of, this is why we're good, this is what we want to be about. And then there's the non-negotiables, like that's not going to work. They're always going to have those. I think, sometimes it's execution. Sometimes it's as simple as, trying to tweak some things or make us better in execution with the film. But, I think big thing is we have a group that's unfamiliar. I think we've probably learned that the hard way as a coaching staff. Regardless of how many new players you have, and for us we have a lot of first-year players and a lot of first-year players here. So there's a lot of newness, and I think we, in some cases you may take for granted a little bit on how much they don't know, they don't understand. So as you're trying to get through this and speed rush to be better, you also have to really take some time to understand, like, everything is sort of a little bit foreign still. We have a lot of guys on this team that have never seen St. Joe's in their life. And I think that's something that, like, we're going to go through this deal again here in conference play. It's a different rhythm, it's a different preparation, and we're going to have to continue to get better. But we've been pretty good here since, post-Christmas with our spirit. I think sometimes you really get down in the dumps when things aren't going well. It takes a tough group to kind of hang in there through a losing streak. And our spirit's been a lot better post-Christmas. Our vibe, our confidence has been a lot better even since Saturday.
How have you addressed the turnovers with the team?
It's difficult. You try to do everything you can creatively in practice, whether it's running individual film sessions with guys. But I think one thing stands out for me more than anything. As you're trying to play fast, as you're trying to be a team that plays on the run, strikes in transition, there's a fine line between playing fast and turning the ball over. And in some cases, as the coach, you may have to identify some guys really got to slow it down, not bring it up, don't lead the break. Or you as the coach have to say, you know what, maybe playing fast, isn't our best deal. But I would say this, a lot of our turnovers are happening after we actually get a stop, a rebound, a steal. Those are basketball plays that, like, we have to be smarter in numbers, 3-on-2, 4-on-3, 2-on-1. Like, we're turning the ball over and costing ourselves 10-point swing by not being able to convert or give it to them versus throw it to them and let them shoot a layup. Like, we're not having the turnovers of you're not executing and you're not feeding the post. We're talking about 2-on-1, throw it to the other team. We're talking about dribble off your foot, throw it in the seats. Like, we're having a lot of plays that uncharacteristically, as you head into conference, you would hope that you would have got those out in November. And I don't know if it's due to some guys having to play different roles each night because of our injuries, or we're having different guys in different spots. I don't know what it is, but like Zeke's so much a better player than he's played probably in his last 3 to 4. But I think a part of Zeke's problem here recently has been he's just had to do a lot of new things in the last 3 weeks that we've asked him to do. That's it. And I think he gets sped up at times and doesn't know. So we have to get him slowed down a little bit. But taking care of the ball in transition, when we have numbers, when we get a stop, they're vital to us being able to be more successful. Even the other day, I don't know, we scored 81 points in a game against Northeastern, and I would say probably half our turnovers happened when we actually had a run out or a steal or numbers. It's like, wow, we cost ourselves probably 8 more points and we gave them 6 to 8 more. But that's been something here recently that's been tough to deal with, and I think that we've really got to get that corrected as we get in January.
Does the addition of David Green change that in the sense that with him out there and his numbers or his effect on a game, gives Zeke a little less to do, a little more manageable?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. With David back, with David in there, that puts our perimeter players in more of the normal rotation, normal role, where they can get out ahead of the ball off defensive rebounds. We can get the ball outletted to our point guard, more. But exactly. I think, playing in a more structured role that they're accustomed to is probably, something that's happened to us here recently. But, I think having David and David back gives you more of a traditional group that they're used to playing with.
So with respect to that, having the full group available, all in uniform, is this game 2 or game 14?
Yeah. I would say that David and David playing together, the amount of minutes that they played the other day was game 1, right? And I think as we now approach conference play, we're looking at almost like kind of a new team, how we can tweak with it, how we can play with it, who's going to get less minutes now, who's going to get a little more minutes over here. So it's been a work in progress. And I think that's why if we just, as a coaching staff, do a really good job continuing to develop our players, just have them ready. But, getting some guys really, really comfortable in their role is important as we head into January, where I didn't think we're very comfortable in our roles here, in mid-December in particular, past Brown.
So I don't want to speak for the players, but I would imagine they might look at each other in the locker room and say, yeah, we struggled earlier, but we didn't have him or him or him. And now maybe we have a chance to hit the reset button.
I don't think,
Let's go.
It's no secret that our players know that if Dave Green was playing at the beginning of the season, we'd be a lot different. I also think they also know if we didn't have, a couple players out there for, a couple weeks, we could have been better. But all players want to play too, and all players want that opportunity. And in those 3 or 4 weeks, some guys had great opportunities to capitalize on that, whether they did or didn't. But I think as we head in here to January, I would say, if anything, there's a much different confidence about our group just in terms of understanding, okay, we're a little different right now than we were 3 weeks ago.
How do you view the league overall?
Good. Much improved from a year ago, top to bottom. From a wins-loss perspective, much higher. Dayton's had a fantastic non-conference season. They're one of the most prolific offensive teams in college basketball, especially shooting the 3. They're an at-large bid team. I think St. Joe's is also an NCAA tournament team, and I haven't watched everybody in the league, but as I'm paying attention to whatnot, I think those 2 teams have really stood out. I think St. Bonaventure is going to be a load to deal with as well, especially as January gets going on, and Mark's really comfortable in the league in terms of understanding how to plays against different styles. But I think we should have multiple bids in our league this year. A lot of it will depend on, who can get to 14-4, who can get to 15-3, 13-5 may be difficult unless it's Dayton. But you start hunting those teams in February that have around 4 league losses, they're going to be right there for the NCAA tournament. But we should be a multiple bid league this year, and in particular, if it's not even the tournament, we should have some teams really, pushing towards 20 wins as you look at some of their non-conference records. So, tough league, much better than last year, much deeper. I know we're a better team, and I think our non-conference was, was a little bit maybe harder for us to handle with our group than we maybe even anticipated. But we played good teams. I think all the teams we played will have good seasons and whatnot. But I think as January rolls around, February rolls around, it's going to be a tough race. But I'm excited about the league. It's good.
In terms of St. Joe's, they're so unique with what they get from three, the attempts that they take,
Yeah.
and also their assist rate on the perimeter. So how do you disrupt that connectivity?
You know, they kind of have an answer for you. You know, they're very unique. Billy's got a great style, great system, and they have great shooting at all 5 or 4 positions on the floor most of the time. But their guard play is fantastic. I mean, their assist-to-turnover ratio, their guard play is absolutely, you know, as good as there is in college basketball from their 3 perimeter players and the way that they handle the ball. But I think they're 3rd in the country in the amount of points produced from 3, or maybe even 3rd in the country in the amount of threes taken. But like, they're so elite in shooting the ball from 5 positions and spacing the floor. You know, do you switch everything? Well, then you got terrific guards, you know, that can really attack you off the dribble with all that space. Do you try to take the ball out of their hands and make their guards not be scorers and passers? Great spacing, and they can really pass, so they pick on the advantages. You know, you play a 2-man game in the middle of the floor and kind of, you know, keep everything off the 3-point line and make them shoot 2s. Sounds good, but, you know, again, you got really good players, you know, attacking. And so I think you have to mix it up a little bit. I think you have to have some toughness to you and some physicality to you when you play them. I just don't think you can let them roam around freely and have the ball swiftly move and make them look like it's a video that they want to present to coaches one day on how to pass and move and shoot, right? I mean, you're going to have to make this thing a little bit ugly and physical it up. But really, to be honest with you, I think one of the best things that you can do against them is run good offense. Don't turn it over. Get second shots. Get to the foul line. Keep them on defense a little bit, you know. Pick and choose your spots when you can run. But they have some answers. And I think they're one of the better teams, you know, in the country just in terms of uniqueness in how you play. I mean, watch them play at Rupp, you watch them play at Villanova, you watch them play Princeton at home, and you're just like, wow, you know, 3 different teams, 3 different styles, and they had an answer for all of them, you know. So, I mean, it's part of having a really good team, some experience, and some guys back.
Any final questions about it? All right.
All good?
Thank you, guys. Go check on David. We'll be right back.
We'll see you guys later on. Have a good night.